First and foremost, I give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua Ba'ashem Rukakodash. Yahweh to this world ignorantly calls God. Yahweh Shai to this world ignorantly calls Jesus. Ba'ashem means in the name, Rukah means spirit, and Kodash means holy. And that's all in the Paleo Hebrew. Also give double honors to the elder bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. And I wanted to make a video going back to the basics, going into how, okay, the name isn't Jesus. Okay, calling upon that name Jesus isn't gonna save you. You aren't gonna make it. And the reason I even make this video is because I think it was one of my previous videos called Flee from Idolatry. YouTube finally decided to push it to the algorithm, and start getting views, which I got like two people commenting on there. One guy saying there's a bunch of rambling, the other one saying, just a bunch of stuff. But he said about, you can't remove the name Jesus or else, it doesn't work. And that's completely false. That's completely false. And that's one of the first things, okay, you have to really understand is that the name isn't Jesus. It can't possibly be Jesus. So another point he said I wanted to, highlight quick. He said that, oh no, the reason you're not getting views is because this is not of the Most High. It's not true at all. It's not true at all, because the reason these videos don't get views is because these videos are suppressed. The YouTube algorithm literally suppresses these videos. It doesn't push it into the algorithm at all. It gets maybe 3-4 impressions. I have another channel where, the whole channel is based on, investing, and those videos get, 1,000 views. So I know it's not, I know it's ultimately an algorithm thing and the truth. And ultimately the truth is going to hit whoever needs to hear it. I'm not concerned about getting views or none of that. It says in Isaiah that his word does not go out void. Whoever it has to hit, it will hit. And this is the truth. Okay, that the so-called Latinos, Negroes, and Native Americans as a collective are the people of the Bible, are the Israelites. Okay? And it's only going to get more and more evident as time goes. So, without going into a crazy tangent, I'm just going to hit the scriptures today. And let's first go into, okay, the name Jesus. Okay, where did the letter J originate from? So, when was the letter J invented? That's the first thing you have to understand, is it was made in 1524 by a man called Gian Giorgio Trocino, right? And it was an extension of the I, right? So that's why it says the word Jesus was spelled Jesus in the original 1611 King James Bible, and was not updated to use the letter J until the 1629 revision. Right, so just off that point, you're not even saying it right if you want to go with that route. You would be saying Jesus. Now, second, when the Messiah was on the scene, Yahweh Shai, which that's his real name, was on the scene, okay, and you go into the account of with Paul, or aka Saul, it talked about how he spoke in the Hebrew tongue. Let's get that. I believe it was Acts. It's either 21 or 26. Let's see. Right, so Acts chapter 26 and verse 12, it says, "Whereupon as I went to Damascus with authority and commission from the chief priests, at midday, O king, I saw in the way a light from heaven above the brightness of the sun, shining round about me and them which journeyed with me. And when we were all fallen to the earth, I heard a voice speaking unto me and saying in the Hebrew tongue." Okay, remember that this voice, being the Messiah, was speaking in the Hebrew tongue. It said, "Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? It is hard for thee to kick against the pricks. And I said, Who art thou, Lord? And he said, I am," it says, "Jesus, whom thou persecutest." Now, why do I bring this up? I bring this up because if he was speaking in the Hebrew tongue and he said his name, he wouldn't have said Jesus. He would have said his Hebrew name. Okay, and that's the point, is that the Messiah has a Hebrew name. And that's the one we must call upon. Not Jesus, not Jesus, okay, because those have no power. So let's read this in Acts chapter 4 and verse 10. It says, "Be it known unto you all and to all the people of Israel that by the name of Yahushai HaMashiach, right, not Jesus, of Nazareth, whom ye crucified, whom God raised from the dead, even by him doth this man stand here before you whole. This is the stone which was set at naught of you builders, which has become the head of the corner. Neither is there salvation in any other, for there is none other name under heaven given among men whereby we must be saved. Right? So there was only one name under heaven you have to call upon in order to be saved, to be delivered, okay, from these times that are coming, to have protection. Showing you that it can't possibly be Jesus, right? You have to really find the right name. And when you look into it, the name is Yahushai. Okay, it's not Yeshua, it's not Yehoshua. The reason it's not Yeshua is because Yeshua is this new Hebrew, okay? Which ultimately, when you go into Yeshua, the reason it's not Yeshua is because this is the new Hebrew, okay? Which this Hebrew that we have nowadays is a combination of Slavic, German, part English, and transcribed in Hebrew letters. Right? It's a combination of all those languages. And the reason, the Hebrew was ultimately changed, it goes back to a guy, when you look at the Hebrew characters, they have little dots and little dots on top of them. And instead of being Yahushua, they changed it to Yeshua. Same as the name Yahweh, they changed it to Yahweh. And it goes back to the Nazarites, okay, with their Nikodah, right? And they're the ones that changed the pronunciation. So when you go into it, it says around the 10th century AD, a group of Jewish scribes called the Nazarites created a system of dots and dashes called Nikodah or vowel points, which they added to the Hebrew text. These vowel points supplied the missing vowel sound in order to codify the pronunciation. The Nazarites also included notes in the margins of text. And that's what happened, is that when you go into it, right, they changed the pronunciation, okay, because the original Hebrew didn't have O's, U's, E's. They didn't have O's, U, and E, O, U sound, if I remember correctly, right? E, O, U sound, right? I only had the A and the I. That's why it was Abba, Gata, Rata, Za, and then I, Shai. So, I've made videos going into this in greater extent, going into the Blue Letter Bible, because even when you go into this here, you go into the word Jesus, it shows you it goes back to the Greek word Iesus, but it tells you it's from Hebrew origin. When you click that, right, they're going to give you this pronunciation of Yahushua. That's not right. But I've gotten videos using this website showing you how, they actually can show you the right pronunciation. And it's not Yehoshua, it's not Yeshua, it's Yahushai and Yahweh. Now, why is the name so important? Well, we proved it here. There's only one name under heaven, and you can't just say, oh no, the Lord knows I'm speaking to him even if I call him Ching Chong Ding Dong. No, the name has a specific reason, right? Because you're tapping into a force. Okay, when you go into Ecclesiasticus chapter 1, and you go to kind of into the middle right here where my cursor is at, it says, for the same things uttered in Hebrew and translated into another tongue have not the same force in them, and not only these things, but the law itself and the prophets and the rest of the books have no small difference when they are spoken in their own language, right? So when you translate the Hebrew to another tongue, it doesn't have the same force, okay, because it is a power, a force, a frequency that you're tapping into, okay, when you speak, especially when you say those names, right? It is a frequency, a power that you're tapping into. So I want to make a quick video. Since I didn't make one yesterday, I'll make another one later today. We'll see what the Lord puts in my spirit to make. But hopefully this was edifying. With that, I give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Rakagodash, and double honors to the elder bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. Shalom to you, like Shalom.